그러니 내가 왜 김정일이를 두둔하겠나 말이야. 내 가족, 내 피부치 다 죽인 그 원한에 사무친 북한. 정말 나니 눈물 없이는 살 수도 없고 가슴이 너무 아프고 하늘 아래 나 하나 만들어 놓은 저 저주스러운 김정일.
Hello and welcome. Emotional words from a North Korean defector condemning the hardline regime of Kim Jong-il. It's one of a number of voices from a new documentary called Kim Jong-ilia. Well, 7 years after the secretive country was placed on the so-called axis of evil, as defined by President George W. Bush, relations between Pyongyang and Washington are at an all-time low. Risking further isolation, North Korea rattled the region this week, saying it had resumed the production of arms-grade plutonium. The nation also threatened to conduct a second nuclear test and fire off ballistic missiles unless the United Nations Security Council apologized for condemning its rocket launch earlier this month. North Korea also says it will put 2 detained American journalists on trial for unspecified criminal charges. Yoon Lee and Laura Ling were arrested last month for allegedly crossing a river and entering North Korea from China. While those stories grab the headlines, the humanitarian crisis in the nation continues to get worse. On today's show, we take a look behind the closed doors of that country and ask, what are the goals of North Korea's leadership and how much of a threat does it really represent? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com/AJE, enter the chat room, and then take part. We also welcome your phone calls on the show. Well, joining me now for a unique insight into North Korea is Alejandro Caudo-Benos, the president of the Korean Friendship Association and an advocate for the Democratic People's Republic of Korea since 1990. He's currently an honorary special delegate of the DPRK's Committee for Cultural Relations with Foreign Countries. And here in the studio with me, I'm joined by Scott Snyder, the director of the Center for the U.S.-Korea Policy at the Asia Foundation. Scott's also the author of China's Rise and the Two Koreas, Politics, Economics, Security, published earlier this year. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Alejandro Caudo-Benos, good to have you back. It's been quite a long time, and I have to say, it seems there's a cycle. We're back to a situation where North Korea is making threats and you know, threatening to take certain actions, and it's a case of a sort of standoff with the West again. Why is that?
Well, and it is not a kind of cycle, it's just a defense. We are trying to defend our sovereignty against the abuse from the United States. So it's not a kind of threatening, but just a self-defense of the sovereignty and our policies, our government and our people.
Is the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-il, actually expecting an apology from the United Nations Security Council? He said he's going to go ahead, unless he gets an apology, he's going to go ahead with furthering his nuclear program.
Yes, we are going ahead with the nuclear programs, as already advised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So sanctions will never work with the DPRK, and frankly speaking, we do not expect anything. We do not expect anything from the USA. The country has been living under sanctions for more than 50 years, so we can continue with them. We are ready for peace. We want the peace, but we will not beg for it.
I'll get back to you in a second. I want to bring in Scott Snyder here and welcome you to the show, sir, and ask what do you see as the reason for the latest tensions between the US and the West in general and North Korea?
Well, I do believe that the North Koreans have a strategic objective, and that is to solidify themselves as a nuclear weapons state with that status. I think they're also trying to shape the field for an eventual negotiation process with the United States. And then, of course, thirdly, there is a set of domestic political objectives related to institutional structure and succession that I think are driving North Korea's behavior.
We'll try and go into that in a minute, but Scott, if I may here, there's an email that came in I can put to you from Colorado in the USA. Paul Howes wrote in saying, Bush insulted the North Koreans and aggravated the scene, and now we must repair the connection with Korea and move on. But it's not as simple as that. It goes way back beyond the Bush administration, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. North Korea is really a bipartisan foreign policy failure. It's been a challenge. This nuclear issue has been around for now 2 decades. And I think that both the Clinton administration and the Bush administration, to varying degrees, have not been able to resolve the issue so far with DPRK.